Hello everyone. So today in this video, I'm basically making a response to an older video that I had made back in May of 2015. Oftentimes, I like to look back on my old videos, look back on old Facebook posts, blog articles, and old projects, old pieces of art and work that I've done in the past. And I enjoy reflecting on these things because they help to bring insight to where I am now, how far I've come, and helps to remind me of different things that makes me happy. It helps to keep me up to date with different characteristics of my life and my personality that make me whole. It helps to improve my approach and direction to life and in life. But the video that I am replying to is a video I recorded about the true self. And basically in this video, I was trying to conclude that finding your true self and detaching yourself from the self-image or the pseudo-self is the alpha and omega of happiness and fulfillment in life. Or at least that's what I believe I got from that video as of watching it today. And I was basically saying that when you detach yourself from the pseudo-self, when you stop trying to be who you think you should be to get what you think you want, and you just start being authentic, and you just start being your true self, like who you are underneath all the suffering, all the denial, the ego, who you are versus who like you're trying to be to impress other people, to please other people, etc. And I was saying that authenticity is what attracts all the circumstances in your life that will make you happy. So, it's been 2 years now, and I've been all over the place with this whole authentic self issue. It's a never-ending exploration of philosophy. And what I found is, there's a lot of different things about this. The first one is, obviously, being honest with who you are, being honest with yourself about who you are, like acknowledging your authentic self is very important. But your authentic self is not what you think it is. It can be very easy to feel angry, punch a hole in the wall, murder a bunch of people, and then claim that that was your authentic self simply because you are authentically feeling extreme anger and rage and wanting to kill people. And that's not going to fly. You'll experience extreme consequences for those types of actions. And this is the thing that really got me to question this authentic self thing, because I realized that a lot of my life, I've kind of wasted my potential because of this whole like, well, if I feel like doing something, it's probably going to be good because I feel like doing it. I've always kind of felt like authenticity was a key for success in life. But what I found is a degree of control is important. Obviously, there's a difference between honoring your true self and just effortlessly acting with, like, carelessly and recklessly, basically. There's a difference, okay? You can't, there's a difference between being authentic and being animalistic. And so basically, you have to know this is my updated version. This is what I've came to. You have to know what you what it takes to make you happy. You have to know what do you actually need to make you truly, fully, and extremely happy, fulfilled, and enthralled with life. Okay. I noticed that, I mean, at a baseline, what got me thinking deeply about this is that it seems like a huge portion of society is unhappy. They are lost, depressed, unfulfilled, and they're always complaining about their life, you see. This is not just an assumption, but complaining and all these things. Um, General depression and sadness, that is very obvious when you observe people. These people are too embarrassed to admit that they feel helpless and hopeless. They feel guilty because they never did anything with their life, and they feel just very sad. Or people who just people who are not living up to their fullest potential. People who are not happy, and they're constantly complaining about being bored, or being depressed, etc. Um, I know this is a huge majority of society, and that means that the solution is not common knowledge. It's esoteric. It's something that has to be reflected on. It's a deeper thing than most people could fathom. Well, anyway, so what are some common things that people seem to have trouble with that could be contributing towards this? Well, first of all, most people try to put on an act. Most people try to put a mask, a self image, a pseudo self, because this is something that they learned as a basic human instinct for survival. They learned that to protect their emotions as children, they must pretend to be something they are not. And a lot of times this comes from your parents forcing you to act a certain way just to make your parents happy. Because basically they say, respect me, be responsible, don't do this, don't do that, don't cry, even though you're like, 3 months old or something and don't understand English yet. Don't cry, screaming at the child, don't cry, but they're teaching their child to be fake, essentially. So it's important to take responsibility for your life once you move out of your parents' house and realize that it's detrimental to suppress who you really are. Trying to be nice to somebody when you actually don't even feel like being nice, okay? That's important. There's a whole lot of things to say to define the authentic self, okay? But it's a very, very deep thing. But essentially, the authentic self is important. But what's even more important is just knowing what you want, okay? So a lot of people don't know what they want. They don't know, they don't even take the time to reflect on what it is they want. And if you cannot reflect on what you want, if you don't know what it is you want, and have not decided the different things you want, don't have them listed out in your mind, and listing them on paper would help too. If you don't have them listed out on paper, it's almost like you're living life with no compass. Goals are things you set out to achieve. They are things that you want, but they don't have to just be goals, the typical traditional goal that everyone else has. It's just, what do you want in life? What makes you happy? Okay. Most people do not take the time to actually think about this. Most people they run around life chasing things that they think they need. which usually leads to a life of suffering. For example, going to a job that drains the life out of you and makes you miserable because you think that you need money, and you feel like that's the only job that you can have. That there's no other jobs out there for you. You know, going to school, being with somebody you don't like, being in a relationship with somebody you do not actually like, simply because you feel like there's nobody else out there for you and you're a loser and you'll never get somebody. These are the common themes that go on with a lot of people that makes them feel like they can't get what they want because they can hardly even, deal with the things that they think they need. But obviously, if you're chasing these things, um, and they're contrary to the things that you enjoy, if they make your life hell, essentially, you're not actually even focused on what the things that you want at that point. You just feel like poor, scarcity. So the first thing you have to do is figure out what you want. But the second problem, or figure out what makes you happy, right? Truly enthralled with life. The second problem is that most people have not actually experienced this feeling of inspiration, a feeling of excitement or creative happiness that I'm describing. Most people assume they know what happiness is, but yet they're always using the word bored. If you use the word bored, especially on a on a frequent basis, chances are you don't know what happiness actually is, or you've lost touch with it. Boredom is simply like boredom is essentially it's an excuse for a lazy mind. It just means that you lack the ability to channel your focus on creative pursuits or endeavors. I used to have that issue. I felt lonely and bored when I first moved into my own house and my friends were not available. When I moved in alone, had my own place, I had a lot of time to myself, which I never experienced ever before in my life. But after about 2 years of living by myself, I found holistic medicine, philosophy, psychology. I found all sorts of amazing things and realized I didn't need other people. I didn't need an anti-boredom. These things fulfilled me. But most people think they need video games or some kind or friends or something. Of course, I have plenty of friends, but I realized that these things that filled my, that basically these things that substituted my loneliness and my boredom were the things that made me happy. Some people play guitar, some people write music, which is things that I used to do as well. These types of things bring me deep happiness, and they're just very minor examples, okay? Other things that bring me happiness, and I mean like the creative, fulfilled, extremely enthralled in life. These things most people would laugh at and think, wow, like simple things. I used to think I needed extreme things to make me happy until I realized what happiness really is. I realize now, as long as I have at a baseline healthy food, like I have freedom in the types of foods that I can buy. I can buy organic fruits, vegetables, high quality fish, superfoods and herbs, good tea. These things make me extremely happy. As long as I have some type of computer or device to record videos, these things make me happy because I love helping other people. I love sharing my thoughts and my knowledge. I love sharing my passions with other people. I love helping others. I love reading comments about how my videos might have helped somebody. I love seeing when people say thank you. I love your videos, yada yada. Makes me feel good to be able to, and I suppose, um, brighten the lives of other people. These things bring me happiness. This is my creative outlet. Um, these are things that my parents, or at least my mother, kind of made me feel mentally ill for. She down talked me, talked down on me, for my gifts. Anytime I would philosophize in this way, she would claim I'm overthinking and I need medication and yada yada. Of course, she had good intentions. In her mind, that was, mental illness, I suppose. But as you grow older, you realize your parents are not the know-it-all type of teachers that they think they are. And this helps you develop individuality and eventually see that a lot of the things they made you feel down on can actually be your greatest strengths. And I realize that that's what this is, and this brings me happiness. But of course, if your true gifts have been talked down on by your parents, you'll never realize that you had these gifts to begin with. And you'll never be able to unlock the greatest happiness of all. Um, so, understanding these things, all of the things that bring you this type of visceral happiness, this is very, very important. And then understanding what makes you happy in relationships, the type of things you enjoy in other people. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of things, depending on how high your standards are. For me, you could say I'm extremely picky and I have very high standards. Of course, not all of your standards can be met in relationships. But you can strive to meet as many of those standards as possible. And as long as your partner is willing to improve themselves, and that's a big part of these whole standards to begin with, then everything's good, and your partner can work to meet those standards, so to speak. Um, but acknowledging that you need something in order to be happy, and being okay with that, being okay with, my partner is not communicating on the level that I would like them to. Um, you don't need to, beat yourself up over that, because it can be very easy to have huge amounts of conflict and for me at least, it makes me want to break up with the person because they're not completely perfect. But we got to be realistic and have some empathy and understand that, we all start somewhere. And if they're willing to work on it, there's no reason to be upset. And it can take some time, because I know that at one point in time, had a severe deficit in communication. And it just took the right mentality and approach to learning. It wasn't like I couldn't force myself to learn communication. That actually backfired. I had to slowly develop it over time. I had to find my way, I suppose. But over time, you learn. Over time, it solves itself. And as long as you're going in that direction, things will improve. And so you may feel like you need this to be happy, and you may need this to be happy. As long as you acknowledge it and recognize it, that's what matters. And if you really need something to be happy in a partner or in a relationship, and it just is not going to happen, that your partner is not willing to make it happen, you need to break up with them. Like, I can't begin to explain how many people have told me that they want to be healthy, but their partner is completely against the idea of eating healthy. And so, because their partner is not willing to get healthy and eat healthy and whatnot, they're not willing to partake on the positive journey with them. They basically see their partner as an obstacle. They think that because their partner doesn't want to get healthy with them, they just can't do it either. And so, if your partner absolutely will not, you know, join you with that positive habit, it sounds to me like that partner is a very negative entity in your life. But most people are too attached to the idea of the relationship and the comfort. They can't accept the fact that they probably would be happier with just alone or with somebody who actually wants to take the next step in their life together. Because essentially, as individuals, we go through different cycles in life, and we go through periods of growth. And relationships are kind of like vehicles to take you to that next level. But once you get on the next level, your partner may or may not be able to join you on that level. And if you stay with your partner when you're on a higher level than them, either your partner is going to inevitably have to bring you down to that level, or you're just going to have so much conflict that the relationship falls apart anyway. And usually it's once you go to the next level, if you actually make that jump, it's impossible to actually go back. And so the relationship ends up just taking a severe dip and falling apart. So that's why you see a lot of people starting, new journeys together. Like, let's just say, a basic one. Um, you know, you, the boyfriend starts going to the gym and encourages the girlfriend to start too. And they slowly but surely gain momentum and become legitimate, you know, health nuts or something. You see a lot of couples do that together. I see that all the time. But then you also see a boyfriend going to the gym all the time, and you ask him, "Hey, like, are you, what's up with your girlfriend or whatever?" "Oh, she just wants to stay at home. She never does anything." To me, that's empty. I feel like if you're passionate about something, you should have your partner should share at least 15 to 25% of that. But when it comes to health, especially, it's a journey you have to partake in together. Same thing goes with careers. I mean, if you are contributing a significant amount of value to society, you want a partner that does the same. And I've noticed flocks of the same feather have to stick together. And basically, if you're like doing something really good in life and your partner's not, you know, and I don't mean money, I just mean the type of the type of energy you're giving off to the rest of the universe. It has to be in alignment with your frequency, essentially. So basically, what I'm saying is, um, be authentic. Understand what makes your authentic self overwhelmed with excitement, inspiration, and joy, and attempt to align your life with what makes you happy. If your job makes you feel like crap, don't try to lie to yourself about it. Don't try to pretend like you don't need, a fulfilling job. Okay, it's that whole fake nonsense does not work. it'll just cause mood swings. It'll cause conflict and fighting between your pseudo self and your true self. That's what mood swings are. So, instead, you want to acknowledge the fact that you need a job that, at the very least, is neutral and does not drain the life out of you, but also gives you good money. And acknowledge the fact that you want some type of happy, fulfilling work that gives you money, but you just may not be able to get it yet. But you know that it's out there. And you're aiming to work towards that which fulfills you. And as long as you're working towards it and you see that in your mind's eye, you see that it's possible, it can be done. But if your situation is just impossible, for example, the job that you're at, if the management there is just horrible, if they're not giving you the raise you need, if they're treating you like garbage, if you just don't enjoy the work, the best thing for you to do is find something better at all costs. The same thing goes with relationships. You know, if you need something and it's not quite there right now, but you know that it could be worked on and there seems promise, even if it takes 2 years, you know what I mean? As long as you see progress, genuine progress, you're still honoring your true self. It's a project. And it can still bring you significant benefits and fulfillment. Although maybe you could just eject from that situation and find something better. Depends on the situation, the conditions, and what it is we're talking about, and who. But it can be worked with. So you don't have to just remove something from your life, but acknowledge the fact that under any circumstances you can make things work. You know, there's always greater things out there for you, and I think that's the message that I wanted to put out there in that first video I did back in May of 2015. Most people feel like they have to be fake in order to survive in life, and I still feel to this day that that's completely wrong. You don't have to be somebody that you're not, but you may need to authentically channel your authenticity, and act upon your authentic values and desires, but don't necessarily just, do whatever you feel like doing and say whatever you feel like saying. Be an intelligent human being, not an animal. So hopefully, if you've made it this far, please let me know in the comments. All right, please let me know you've made it this far in this video, because it's crazy. I love everything I just said. Very valuable information. So leave your questions and comments down below, and let me know if you came this far in this video. I'll talk to you soon.